Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Shinoa Kimbale at Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos. So tonight on the program, our first look is going to be the IMF advice for Nigeria to remove fuel subsidy. The finance minister's backtrack says no plan yet to remove subsidy. We look at the politics of subsidy and the issues raised, and also the People's Democratic Party has raised an alarm to assess the election materials used in the 2019 election, as the party accuses INEC for not aligning it as prescribed by the court. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this show. It's going to be one that you need to pay attention to because a lot of issues will be raised and discussed, finding solution to some of the lingering issues in the Nigerian economy. So first, let's take a look at what the People's Democratic Party is saying. The People's Democratic Party has raised an alarm saying that it is not allowed to take a look at the election materials as prescribed by law. We check out our political roundup and we'll be back on the details of that.
The senator representing Rivers South East Senatorial District and former factional governorship candidate of the APC, Magnus Abe, has been canvassing the way forward for his party after the APC in the state was left out of the ballot in the governorship election. In a meeting with stakeholders from the faction of the party in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, the senator called on the party to learn from its past errors and forge a united front.
We have come out to fight for the ticket of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State. We have come out to fight for internal democracy in the party.
After a 3-month trial, the Code of Conduct Tribunal has fixed Thursday, April 18, for judgment in the 6-count charge of false asset declaration and non-declaration of assets brought against the suspended Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onogen, by the federal government. The chairman of the tribunal, Mr. Danladi Umar, who announced the date of judgment, also disclosed that ruling will be delivered on the same date in the 2 motions earlier filed by Justice Onogen challenging the jurisdiction of the tribunal and also praying that the tribunal chairman should recuse himself from the trial on account of bias. The Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adomu, has visited Governor Akinwumi Ambode at the State House in Lagos. The IGP says he's in Lagos to tackle the extrajudicial killings in the state and also appreciate Governor Ambode for working with the police force. Governor Akinwumi Ambode applauds the IGP for his prompt response on the killing of Kolade Johnson and many others.
Of moving refined crude into Nigeria has now exceeded 210 naira per litre. The subsidy, so-called, that we have is about, puts it at 145, the price at pump price at 145 naira per barrel. This is a paradox because normally when crude oil prices increase, we should be rejoicing. But we reach a point where we're literally biting our fingers because with the increase of crude, it means that the net import of refined petroleum, which is what we do, we produce only 10% of our domestic consumption, and the 90% we have to import. Now, for political reasons, government finds it necessary to put it at a tolerable price for people. Now, the price is threatening, the net bill is threatening to rise from $3.8 billion to $5 billion this year alone. That is almost 2-point-something trillion if you look at it. To consider the fact that our annual budget is about 8.9 or so trillion, you know, we're in serious trouble. Definitely. There will have to be some form of adjustments. And part of the problem is even in the administration of the subsidy. There's a lot of opacity in the whole process. You would recall that we agreed to move it away from the oil sharks, the cartels who cornered the whole thing, and there was duplicitous corruption and rent-seeking behavior. Now it's been taken over by the NNPC, and I'm not sure that the corruption has reduced. In fact, it is not only Nigerians that are being subsidized. All of ECOWAS is being subsidized. Benin Republic, they are all dependent on subsidized oil from Nigeria.
Wow.
Sometimes they used to bring the ships.
Those are very key issues that we're raising there. But we need to take a break. Dr. Obadiah Mailafia and Mr. Peter Esele in Lagos. Thank you. We'll take a break, but when we come back, we'll look at some of the figures. Can fuel subsidy go? How much is Nigeria paying? What is the cost of letting it go? And what's the cost of letting it stay? Some of the advice that we have for the government of the day when we return from this break, everyone. Join us again. That's some of the debate over the issues of fuel subsidy. Let's get back to the conversation. My partner tonight, Dr. Obadiah Mailafia, former deputy CBN, governor at the CBN, and a former presidential candidate in the 2019 presidential election, and also Mr. Peter Esele, a former president of the Trade Union Congress, with us on the program. Thank you so much for being with us today. Let me go back to you, Mr. Esele. As it stands right now, some of the issues that are being raised, politically speaking, of course, you look at the indices, whether or not you can make that decision. From your own standpoint, what would you advise this government to do in terms of, if you increase it, the evil, and if you remove the subsidy, the evil, and if you keep it, the evil, which is the better one?
I think where we are now, we are in what I would call a catch-22 position. Head we lose, tail we lose. But then how do we now look at it that in another 10 years, another 10 years, and we look back and say, okay, this is what we did, and we have made progress. The opacity of what actually goes on in an NPC is, first of all, you need to have a process. You need to have a process to tell yourself, okay, this is why I am doing this. What are the various things that you think your citizens are looking at for? I'll give an example of what has just been happening in France. You've had protests for a couple of weeks in France every Saturday. They call them the yellow vest. What did the French government do? From the series of strikes, protests going on, they also set up various town halls. Now, what they wanted was to get a feedback from the citizens to say, okay, what do you want us to do? And this is primarily what is lacking in Nigeria. What we have in this part of the world is always those who claim to be in the helm of affairs, who are our leaders, always telling us, okay, this is what you want, this is what we want to do for you, not asking what the citizens are actually looking for. What are their primary concerns and their primary goals, and let us take them on it. If you come to a place like Lagos, what will be the primary goals of those in Lagos? Transportation. That is a huge problem in Lagos. Man hours are wasted on the road, productivity is low. You now look at it, okay, what do we do? You can go to the UK, for example, and you either take a tube. If you decide to take a tube, fine, it's available for you. If you decide to have a chauffeur-driven car from the airport, it's available for you. If you decide to, whatever you want, the various strata of the citizens are catered for. That is one. Then you also have to look at the healthcare. People are going to ask, okay, what are you going to do with this money? Even if the federal government goes ahead and take away the subsidy, who is going to manage the fallout? The actual money goes again to the 36 state governments. And you need to ask yourself, what are they doing? What are the dreams? What are the aspirations? I just heard, I think that was former Deputy Governor of CBN talking about leadership, inspiring the people. Now, what you have is that Nigerians are desolate. They've heard this over and over and over again. What will be different this time? That is key. How do you now come to the people and say, okay, this is the reason why we are taking this subsidy away, and this is what we are going to do for the people. Yes, if you don't do it, if you don't do that, you're going to have a whole lot of problems. The Vice President also alluded to that, talking about inflation. All of this, you have a country where you have minimum wage that is 30,000 naira a month.
All right. Mr. Esele, I mean, there are a lot of issues on the table. So a lot of economics will say, is the economy evil with the 9 lives fuel subsidy? We've been on this matter for several years. Is it the economic evil with 9 lives? So a big question will be what Madam Christine Lagarde of the IMF says. Look, it's in black here. We believe that removing fossil fuel subsidy is the right way to go for Nigeria. Is it the right way to go? And the question is when, how? Will President Buhari let fuel subsidy go? How long will it take for it to stay? How will that happen? Those are some of the big questions. Again, look at what the finance minister said. Maybe she spoke from the heart on Thursday, 11th April last week. She said, and I quote, "The advice from the IMF on fuel subsidy removal was a good one, but also we have to implement it in a manner that is both successful and sustainable." But it looks like she backtracked. And he said, but in Nigeria, on the following day, we don't have any plan to remove fuel subsidy this time because we have not yet designed buffers that will enable us to remove subsidy. This is reality, isn't it? Dr. Mailafia, if you are advising President Buhari on what to do right now, when and how, when should it be, and how should he go about it?
Thank you. You know, I was trying to conclude a statement when we went for the commercial break, and that is that, number one, there's a lot of lack of transparency in the whole subsidies administration. Number two, we are not just subsidizing Nigerians, we're subsidizing the whole of West Africa. In fact, I suspect almost half of the oil that is subsidized actually goes to our neighboring countries. The whole of Benin Republic would go into serious difficulties if they didn't have subsidized oil from Nigeria. And I think that is very wrong. We should run Nigeria for the interest of Nigerians first and foremost. So we must find a way of administering the distribution of the subsidized oil such that it does not go to our neighboring countries, or such that there is hemorrhaging. You know, in the past, things were so bad that they will come, get them registered, and the oil tankers will actually fly again off into the Atlantic sunset to other countries. And that is not good enough. If I were to advise this administration, I would say, look, the reality is that if things continue, we would be spending something like $5 billion just on subsidies that are very questionable. There have to be some form of adjustment. I wouldn't say wholesale removal of the subsidies. After all, policy must be based on the art of the possible. Politics is the art of the possible. It is not the art of the impossible. And it looks politically unfeasible to say you will remove the subsidies 100%.
Perhaps that is the point by which we need to hang it now, because we need to go. We are out of time. Well, my sincere thanks to my panel tonight on the program, Dr. Mailafia, former presidential candidate and the former deputy governor at the CBN, and also Mr. Peter Esele. It's good to see you again, a former president of the TUC. It's glad to have your thoughts on these issues. A big question: when, how will President Buhari make that move? The finance minister had made that statement. So, can you keep up with the evil of the fuel subsidy and the fraud that the economics and analysts say, isn't it? A big question, isn't it? That's how we leave it tonight on the program tonight. Many thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Sean Wakimale. Bye-bye.